Hello to everyone, this is Vishal and we have a again session related to the Kotlin. But before that, I am very happy to see that it's a good growing channel and there'll be a lot of increment in the users that watching this channel and lot of comments. I have seen that on my channel videos, but I apologize that I haven't get a time to reply back to you, but we'll do it as I get a time, sure. And but few I have already give the replies. So those who want to upload the things like some videos, documents, and some code that I already pushed it on the GitHub. So thanks for your appreciations and as your good comments. Thanks so much for that. So as we are working with the Kotlin and last we have done the RX Java, and that's how we can use that with your retrofit models, with the rooms. A lot of stuffs we have done in the previously with the Kotlin. But sometimes what happen that we have very small things that we have to learn, and that is very important things, because of that is very useful whenever you work with your classes, and whenever you make your retrofit class like that. So these things, so I will show you how we can implement those things, and how we can play with the objects in the Kotlin. So the basic things first we have to learn, and in a series we have a small app that we have to complete it with the clean architecture in coming sessions. We'll do shortly, and as soon as possible we will upload for you. But today we choose the topic, a small topic, as we have done with the small topics past some few videos, because of as a short time for me. So so for the shortage of the time I will implement the big things with you, but at this time we have to go for such a small object, and today we have a topic of that day, that is called your companion object. So how we can use that companion object, and what the expressions be going on, that we have to learn today. So first we go for the object. We know that how to create a classes and how to make an object for that classes in a Java, in a Kotlin. And if you do not know, you just put the comment for the basic things. I'm making a small PDF for that, basic things on that. We have some PPTs how we can use that classes, and which kind of classes we can use in it, and how we can implement those things with the Kotlin. So these all I'm making a Kotlin PDF book for you, so you can learn that. I will share the link for that. But at this time we go for the object expression again. So object expressions create objects of anonymous classes, that is classes that are not explicitly declared with the class declarations, as we know. And such classes are useful for one-time use. So that means you can define them from the scratch, inherit from existing classes, or implement interfaces on. So instance of the anonymous classes are called anonymous objects because they are defined by an expression, not a name. So what's the meaning of that? As we are making the class, we can create an object, and then we can fetch that data or a methods using that. That simple scenario whenever you work with your object. So here again we can say that object expressions create object, very simple, for the classes, and the classes that are not explicitly declared with the class declarations, and you have to use that classes for one time use, and you can define them from the scratch, inherit, implement, a lot of stuffs you can do with that. So whenever you create instance of that class, that is called your anonymous objects because they are defined by an expression, not a name. So if we talking about the object in a Kotlin or any other programming language, we can say that where we want to call the methods, or whenever we want to access the members of the class, then we make the object of the class. and with the help of that object we can call that. So here there's examples how we can simply make a class call and function there be, and you can call that objects in easily. But this is a simple pattern of calling the class in your Kotlin. And but what happened that sometimes we need a static kind of thing, just like in a Java. But static not work here. The keyword static is not working in your Kotlin. So on that case, in some languages like as we have a Java or C and others, so we can use your keyword to static keywords to declare the members of the class and use them without making an object and just call them with the help of the class name. So you have a class and you can call that method. So if you're making that static, so you call the methods named my method having a class name my class. So as we discussed that is static not working in your Kotlin. So beside that, sometimes what happens that we use the static keyword to declare the members of the class and use them without making an object. So that means it's the static for complete project, you can call that. So on that cases what happened that here we do not call that static be here, so we can use the companion object. So an object declarations inside a class can be marked with the companion keywords. That's an important. And whenever you work with your class, you can, whenever you put your companion object like that factory or anything, so you can just create a function inside that and then call it with the class. So that's the way you can work. We'll show you the practically how we can implement it. But here we can say that the members of the companion object can be called simply by using the class name as the qualifier. So you can just call that val instance or that the class dot whatever be the function. So that means you can call it anywhere. That's your static. It behaves like an static. So just like say that class dot object values, that's your companion. So whatever be your value, you can just fetch that be there. So it automatically get your companions be there. So that's the first way you can do that. And here the other is your, if you have a companion object and whatever be the value, you can call that the class, and then you can fetch there to variable be here, instance be here, and you can call that with the companions. So you can say that my class 1, and then you can call that companion with that. So we'll show you how we can implement. So generally we can say that in a Kotlin, if you want to write a function or any member of the class that can be called without having the instance of the class, then you can write the same as the member of the companion object inside the class. So by declaring the companion object, so whenever you want that without instancing each and everywhere like in a dynamic class, if you want to make it in a static way or static behave of that, so simply we can say that we can use the companion in your classes. So that's an important, because of in most of the project we need that kind of classes. So here we can say that the class companion class, and then your companion object, you can call that companion class that companion object. So whatever be, you can fetch it. And if you have the class companion class and the companion object inside that, you can call them easily. So companion object test and then function call me, you can call that with the println, and you can say that call dot call me with the class. So you can say that just simply class and then function with the companion. So that's the approach you can work with. Just like here we can say that in a simple example, here we have a class and companion object whatever be, and inside that there is some value, and we have a function. So that means whenever you call that, you can just simply say that companion, that's your class dot your whatever be the value. So if you want that in the future, if you want to that increment the values as in a statically, you can just use that. And also if you want to remove the test name from the above code, it will become like that. So that's like here we have a companion object test, and then we call it with this. So here we do not want to go with that. We just simply say that do not need to make it as a test name be here. Okay, so here that means you can say that companion object we have, and here we give the name to that, but here do not go with the here with the name and here without name. Some companion object with name, companion object without name. So you can use this also be. So there are many approaches to work like that. Here if we say that there is a person class, and you call that function be here. So and if you use the companion object, that you can call it. So we'll discuss it how we can make that. So we'll discuss it practically how these approaches be. You can work with the class and simple class. First we create a simple class and then we use that companion on that. So if we go with the theory part and simply discussing with that, there might be a situations where we want to have some properties common for all object of the class. So that's in interview time or in in your assignment. So this is the best way to give the represent your company. So you can say that there might be the situation where we want to have some properties common for all object of the class. That's the most important line. So these type of properties and the methods are known as the class level fields. They are initialized at the time of the creation of the class by the compiler and shared between all the objects of the class. In other languages like we can say the Java, they are created using the static keyword as we have done many times, but here we have a choice to go with the companion because of static is not working here. As we can say that as we know that whenever you create your classes, there be the default they are final, so we can't extend it till we open it. So in Kotlin, whenever you want to extend the classes, we use the open. So that's the keyword we are using on. The same here, we do not go with the static, we are going with the companion object. So here as in one more example we have. So how this companion object be increment that previously values. So fields inside the companion objects are accessed using the class name. So they can also be accessed using both the class name or the object name. So if you go with your function employee.print, whatever be that, and you can go with that companion object with that print. So that's the difference. So important points we discuss about. So the companion object are accessed using the class name instead of object name. If the companion object name is missing, the default name companion is assigned to it. And there can also be the companion object in a class. A companion object is initialized when the class is loaded. If we try to access labels, fields, access objects, and their class name, error will be thrown on that. So that means we have some points. Companion object are accessed using the class name instead of object name. That is an important point. If the companion object name is missing, the default name companion is assigned to it. And there can also be one companion object in a class. And companion object is initialized when the class is loaded. And if you try to access the class level fields using the objects, fields using we have a error will be thrown on that case. So here very big good example we can work with the whenever we create a retrofits and retrofit classes, we can make the companion object already because of we can use it anywhere. And whether we make a companion, whether we make a singleton, so that's different approaches. We also discuss about in next session how we can compare the singleton with your companion also. So we also discuss, but first we go for the practically how we can do that. So we can say that a companion object is a specific type of object declarations that allows an object to act static objects in other languages, as we have done. So adding companion object of the class that allows the static functionalities to an object even though the actual static concept on that.
So here we can say that our object, companion object, and then we can call that methods be here. So the Kotlin companion object, we can say that one more time, it doesn't have a static keyword. So how do we set the variable? So we can use that companion object for every answer. So now first we discussed the your simple practical session, and then we back to here and see that these points be worked or not on your companion object as in practical. So we'll see these all points we have to discuss, and we some doing I am doing some practical on that. So first we go for the companion basics, and then we go for after that of the second session we go for the singletons, and then we see compare both the classes be here. So now first we check the practical sessions. So let's learn in practically how we can make that. So first you have to go for creation a new class, and we created a new class like your test class, and that's on the Kotlin. Okay, so once this test class be implemented, we simply what to do, that means we have an any function be like, we can say that fun and test object or test function, and if you want to print something be like, say hi, this is function. Okay, and here if you want to call it simply on your main, what to do, you just call it, you have to create an instance for it generally. So what to do for this val test class, that's your test class, this is your instance, and here you can call that test class dot test fun. But if I want to call it directly be like on your println, I want to print that something and say test fun. So that means first we have to create an instance. So whenever we want this instance, it means we can create for the dynamic creations for this. But what about the static in creations? So the scenario is totally changed. How it is possible? So we go for again that test class, and you can implement it as a companion object here, and then under that you can call this function. So here you can see that there is an error. So that error is we can't create it dynamically because of once it created with the your static or say companion. So we go back and then we call it like this. So your class name and then your function. So that means it indicates that whenever we call that, it always be static everywhere. So this is called your companion object behave in Kotlin. So that's the way we can work with your companion object, and simply if you go with your simple class and simple object, we can just call that. But if we call with the companion object, or it always be static for always. Just like we can say that if any variable we have, just like say our college name, we can say that, or yes, college name, and we can go for XYZ, whatever be the college. And if you want to go for your activity, and if you want to println, you can call that college be like test class and that college name. So it is the same everywhere where you want to call it. So sometimes we need this kind of companion object under the classes where you want to give some specify values, or with that you can call the without companion object. If you want to call that function, any function name, just like say out companion, we can say, and we can call that be here simply hello. So if you want to call that, so what happen on that case is println, and you can just say the test class dot. We can't get access it, but if you want to access it as in a dynamic, we can access it. So because of that's the difference on the same class. So whatever be the requirement to making the static, you can call that, or where you want to make it a dynamic, you can call the instance of that particular class. Here class name with the static values, and here class instance with the function name. So that's a very simple example whenever you work with your companions. We'll see, or we'll check more examples on that, how we can implement this companion object in Kotlin. So let's discuss about that. Okay, so one more example I'm giving to you. Just if you say that if you go for a new class, Kotlin class, and say that this is your student, and on that student class, if you have any variable be like your var and I, and you can say that the roll number, and you can make it as a 0, and here it is a dynamic, so we can call that with a function, and you can say that the student call, and under that you can just println and say roll number is, you can just put it as a roll number. Okay, so that's by that's the way under the string you can concatenate using the $sign, as you know well. And if you make it as an some companion object with the names also, so you can just say that companion object, and you give the name of the test, or increment, or whatever be you want. And here I am making it the variable, or say the val, and val and var difference, you know well, that means once it's be a constant value as in a val, you can't change in the future, but if you go with the variable, you can change it. So here if you want to make it as a function, and say it is a print object, and say that this is the way you can work println, and say hello, and here $I. So that means if you want to make it as an increment on in the future, you can just go for that. So here if we go for your println and say that your instance for the class as a student dot, so here it is, you can just simply I, and if you want to increment, you say that +I, +1. And if you go with your println, that means it always show to you that if you again call that student and dot your function, you can print that object dot whatever be the value. But if you want to make it as a println, and you can just create it as a student dot roll number. So that's the way we can create an instance. So that is the other example. And also if you want to fetch that with the name of the companion object, so here if we give the name to that companion, we give the test. So if you want to call it as a test dot I, so that's also be the other approach you can work with your calling of the companion. Because of, okay, one more thing, if you want to make more companions, so can we create it or not? Because of, according to that, we have a test1, and can we make it? We can't make it, because of in a one class there is a one companion object, you put it on your mind. So that's the way you can work with your companion object. In coming session we'll discuss about simply what be the singleton and how it discriminates the things. So we'll see these points here, and as we have done the examples on, so let's see these points one more time for the companion object. What be the points? Yeah, so here we can say that the Kotlin companion object. So here we that it works with the statically. Companion object is the answer. That means whenever we need a static, that's right. A companion object is common to all instances of the class. As we have done, we can create the class, that object, and companion object is initialized when the class is instantiated. That's also be the right, and a companion object cannot be declared outside the class. So that's we can find it easily. And here we can say that here we have a we can creations of that. For the retrofit, you can make it companion object and then call it like that, retrofit instance dot get retrofit, and you pass your URL. So that's the companion object example. You can do it as your retro class also. So this means what we do today, that means as we are working with the small things, that's an important in your Kotlin, and that makes our projects be good. So that means every basic things we have to know that in a deep. So the deep knowledge is good for every class. So just practice on this, and we'll discuss about the singleton in coming session, and how to discriminate with your companion object, and how we can apply that companion on that also. So that's a lot of stuffs we have to work in coming session. We'll discuss about that.